Every good book eventually gets turned into a bad film. It's a pipeline that all relevant authors end up taking. This book is safe, for now. 3 of John Green's other books, though, weren't so lucky. Looking for Alaska even had a whole series on Hulu. That makes me wonder, do sensitive topics such as cancer and death in The Fault in Our Stars, or mental health issues and suicide, such as Looking for Alaska and Turtles All the Way Down, translate as clearly to films as they do in literature? This is a conversation about adaptation versus appropriation. Adaptation involves a new text building upon a source text, while appropriation involves a more decisive shift away from the original in a new cultural product. When adapting a book into a film, a lot needs to be put into consideration. The Lord of the Rings, for example, is a very positive source. The films hold very close to a dedicated fan base while still having mainstream appeal. The franchise is successful, or at least it was back in the early 2000s. I try not to think about what it is today. When the film industry tries to adapt a book to a wider audience, though, they oftentimes appropriate what the book represents. The Fault in Our Stars, for example, could probably have gone without the scene where they kissed in the Anne Frank house. The issue is, movies can't market as well if the film looks too deeply into topics like cancer or death, especially in teenagers. If a film can reorientate itself as a sad romance, such as how The Fault in Our Stars did, it can maintain mass appeal. We saw the same thing happen in Turtles All the Way Down. Talking about mental health issues and bringing light to some of the challenges that people face can be hard to approach. While this film did handle it well, there are still gaps that they can't get past when adapting it from a book to a film. In Julie Sanders' writing on Adaptation Vs Appropriation, rightfully named Adaptation and Appropriation, it speaks heavily on the idea of rewriting. The book offers a nuanced understanding of how creative works are remixed, reshaped, and repurposed in different contexts across time and culture. Sanders suggests that appropriation can be a form of creative engagement, where the original works are reinterpreted and recontextualized to explore new meanings, perspective, and social issues. Sounds great, right? Well, hold on. The book also addresses more problematic aspects of appropriation, things like power dynamics, cultural ownership, and ethical concerns. When a dominant culture appropriates elements of marginalized cultures, it can be seen as an act of exploitation and cultural imperialism. Ultimately, Sanders How did you guys get over there? Here. Ultimately, Sanders emphasizes that while appropriation can be a tool for innovation and expression, it requires careful consideration of the relationships between the original creator and the new context in which the work is being used. It raises important questions about respect, originality, and the power to define meaning within creative processes. Adaptation is typically more rooted in a relationship to the source material. However, Sanders acknowledges that even with adaptation, there are varying degrees of fidelity and transformation. While adaptations often maintain a certain connection to the original text or work, they can still introduce significant changes in structure, context, and style to suit new audiences or technological mediums. For example, a novel adapted to a film might be altered to fit the visual constraints of cinema or to reflect the cultural sensibilities of the time. Additionally, Sanders touched on the tension between fidelity and transformation in adaptation. While some adaptations try to stay true to the source material, others take more creative liberties, taking a more broader, sometimes controversial definition of what adaptation entails. So in short, adaptation asks, how do I keep the soul of the original while making it work for a new audience? While appropriation is asking, what happens if I just take this and make it mine without worrying about where it came from? It's a creative tug of war, where everyone has an opinion and who's playing fair. Thank you for watching.